think that's pretty close. Let's call the meeting to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Belsley.
Here.
Dobb.
Here.
Hare.
Here.
Herman.
Here.
Kaufman.
Here.
Newhouse. You have a quorum.
May we say the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag We don't have any public hearings tonight, but we are going to have a special presentation by Clifton, Larson, and Allen.
My name is Jeff Bonnick. I'm a partner with Clifton Larson Allen. We performed an audit of the village's April 30th, 2013 financial statements. And I'm here to report that we have an unqualified or clean opinion on your financial statements. Last week, we met with the mayor and the village administrator just to go over the results of the audit. We had a few suggestions for future consideration, and we'd just like to thank the village for the opportunity to perform the audit, and thank Wendy and her staff for the cooperation we received throughout the audit. So with that, I'll entertain any questions that you may have.
Any of the trustees have any questions? That was easy.
That was easy.
I think compliments are due the treasurer, Wendy, and her staff. We spent considerable time on this. I don't know how many hours it was, although it was very pleasant and it flew by. But it was nice to see again and again how orderly everything was. A couple little housekeeping issues.
Yep.
But it was a pleasure to find out everything was in such good order. So hats off to Wendy and her staff.
I agree.
Any other comments that you'd like to make?
I did not at this time, no.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
How many people here would like to make comments tonight? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, let's just take them randomly. Mike, would you go first, please?
First, I want to tell the board I'm sorry to waste any more of your time. To be frank, if I didn't think that the people on the other side of the issue would be here, I wouldn't be here, but we've almost been put in a position where we're forced to be here and forced to say something. I'll try to be brief. Based upon the mayor's latest article to the TCN, I apparently did not adequately explain our arguments, or at least there's some questions involving those arguments. At no time is it my position or my client's position that anybody that votes on this ordinance is doing anything illegal. Perhaps I'm wrong, but I thought that I went to extraordinary lengths to say just the opposite. The statute in Illinois that renders voting in conflict situations criminal is the Illinois Ethics Act. Clearly, anybody who votes for this has not and will not have committed an act that is illegal. If I said that, I apologize. Apparently I did, because that's what the mayor insinuated I'd said. In the mayor's article, he made a point of saying, just because something is legal doesn't make it right. He's 100% right, but just because something's illegal doesn't make it ethical. And the fact of the matter is, and there are no secrets in Morton, everybody knows who's going to vote for this, everybody knows who's going to vote against it. The trustees are going to vote against it, are unable, due to their perfectly valid, laudable devotion to their churches and their interpretation of the Bible and their interpretation of what is and what is not God's will, they're unable to fairly consider these issues. the Village of Morton has adopted Robert's Rules of Order, and there's a specific provision in Robert's Rules of Order that says that if a trustee has a personal interest in any matter before the board, the trustee should not vote. Now, to be perfectly candid, Robert's Rules of Order do not impose any sanctions if you do vote. They don't impose any means by which that vote can be invalidated, but nevertheless, you've adopted that and you've agreed that you will not vote on any issue upon which you have a personal interest. I admire the trustees and another thing, let me just back up. Another thing the mayor's article insinuated is that somehow I had said somebody should vote against their church. Nothing could be farther from the truth. I thought I went to extraordinary lengths to say that wasn't the fact, that I admired the people that are against it. But the fact of the matter is, because of the devotion to the church, you're unable to fairly consider the issue before the board, and because the opposition is based solely upon religious beliefs, all we have so far is this anecdotal evidence. I mean, I might have missed it, but I have yet to hear somebody come before the board and say, I just think that video gaming is contrary to God's will, and it's contrary to the teaching of my church. That's the truth. That's what they believe. They have every right to believe that. What they don't have the right to do is fail to disclose that and then submit anecdotal evidence which purports to be a rational basis for denying it when it's not. When we pledge allegiance, it says to the republic. Anybody notice that? Anybody notice it didn't say to the democracy? We are not a democracy. We're a constitutional republic. We're governed by our Constitution. The Constitution prevents the majority from imposing its will on the minority. Again, based on the mayor's article, I must have done a miserable job of explaining my constitutional arguments, so I'll go over them briefly again, and I apologize if that's the case. There's two reasons that I think the trustees that are going to vote against this shouldn't vote. The first is a conflict of interest. We've covered it. The second is a constitutional reason. And that reason is that, as Thomas Jefferson stated in the Declaration of Independence, we get our rights from our Creator. The rights go to the people. The rights don't go to the government. We give the government only such rights as we choose to give them. And the government cannot wrongly use those rights. Every law there has to be a rational basis. This village board, if everybody in Morton wanted you to, could not pass an ordinance that said brown shoes are outlawed in Morton because there's no rational basis for it. And when you use your religious beliefs instead of considering rational facts, you are violating the rights of the business owners, not only to due process of law, but also you're depriving them of their property rights. And let's not lose sight of one important fact. Or let's say two. Let's be honest. Everybody knew that this was going on illegally. It wasn't an issue then. The real problem is not that video gambling has existed in Morton. The real problem is nobody wants to admit that it existed in Morton. What the state of Illinois did was make the playing field uneven by trying to get their greedy hands on the video gaming money. They passed a law which gives municipalities the right to opt out, but if they so opt out, they put their businesses at a distinct economic disadvantage. I don't think that anybody can rationally argue with the fact that a business that is allowed to engage in video gaming is worth less than a business that is. That's not their fault. That's the state of Illinois' fault. It's the state of Illinois' fault that you people have been put in this position. When I talked to the mayor prior to the election, we discussed this issue, and I told him if anybody asks, you should tell them, decide it by referendum. It's too complicated. It involves religious beliefs. It involves moral interpretations that shouldn't be decided by politicians, but here we are, and you get people have to make a hard political decision. And the only thing I'm asking you trustees that are going to vote against it is to at least recognize the truth of the matter. If anybody asks you, to whom do you owe your higher duty? Your God and your church, or the village of Morton? You're going to rightfully answer to God, to my God and my church. Admit that and say, because of that, I shouldn't vote on this issue. Nobody in your church should be mad at you. I mean, they certainly expect you not to vote against them, and I'm not asking you to vote against them. What I'm asking you for is not to vote for them. Now, the end result may be the same, but anybody that knows me well enough that if the trustees were going to vote for it had a conflict, I'd likely as not be in here screaming about that too. I mean, just do the right thing. And frankly, you know, again, the mayor has brought up this ridiculous award we won. You know, all we hear is, well, women around a family circle, you know, special. You know, Mr. Mayor, I asked you last time, call the editor of Family Circle, find out if they even considered that. You know, I don't know how you can use that as a reason without knowing the facts. Call Jennifer Daly, ask if they even talked about that. Call the mayor of Suwanee, Georgia, and ask if they allow video gaming. But if you're not going to do that, then don't say that's a reason to deny it. You know, you said in your article there's 5 million subscribers. Big deal. You know, there's like 165 million households in America. Does anybody really think somebody's going to be out in Squattsville, Idaho, and say, gee, Myrtle, let's move to Morton? And if the reason you can't vote for it is because we're been given this award, does that mean you'd vote for it in a year when we're no longer one of the top 10? You know, I don't need an excuse to think Morton's special, but I fail to see how approving video gaming makes Morton any less special, and I fail to see how depriving the business owners of revenue and running businesses out of town is in anybody's best interest. And all you've had to support that is anecdotal evidence. Last meeting, after I spoke, some woman stood up and said, well, you know, Proctor opened 2 years after the riverboat. And I guess we're supposed to surmise from that is some sort of evidence that the riverboat opened and the Peoria metropolitan area was overrun with gambling addicts, so-called gambling addicts, and they had to do this. You know, there's no evidence of that. I'll tell you exactly what happened. Proctor and all chemical dependency units are in the business of making money. They knew here's a riverboat, it won't be long before there's a lot of mad wives when dad spends the house payment money gambling at the boat. And what's the first thing that people do? Look for shelter. They run to Proctor and check in. Proctor will treat you. If your insurance company would pay for addictive goldfish staring, Proctor would check you right in and try and treat you. So, but, you know, these people present anecdotes and they expect you to draw some legal conclusion from it. And I fail. Maybe I'm dense. You know, I grew up in East Peoria. I'm not as smart as people who grew up in Morton, but I fail to see, will somebody please explain to me how getting this award from Family Circle somehow precludes us from having video gaming? I mean, we're acting like it's a Congressional Medal of Honor and it can't be tarnished and blah, blah, blah. You know, I'll be honest, Mr. Mayor, you didn't even know about that award until it was awarded. And now it's the best thing that ever happened. And, you know, perhaps I misread your article. I read it to say, here's why I'm going to vote against it. And that's fine, but you owe the village and the people an explanation. Did the editor of Family Circle tell you we wouldn't have got the award if we'd had video gaming? You know, if you're not going to do that, I'd submit that you shouldn't even talk about it. Thank you.
Barb?
Well, at least I don't have to worry about going too long now. I'd like to thank the board for taking
Name and address, please.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm Barb Smith. I'm from 380 East Forestwood here in Morton.
Thank you.
And again, thank you for taking the opinions of the community over the last few weeks. As we can tell, it's a divisive issue, but it is an important one for us socially. Now, contrary to what we've heard, I'm not here out of religious reasons. Now, I know that my faith is a filter by which I do form my opinions, but I'm not here tonight, as I've heard in the last few weeks, framing this in a religious presentation. I'm not here out of concern for the bar owners. I'm not even here out of concern for the person sitting on the bar stool doing the video gambling. What I hope that you board members consider are the families, the children, the spouses, the households that are represented by the people that are going to squander their money as they have impaired judgment sitting in the bar drinking and gambling. If we don't consider them to have impaired judgment after drinking, then why do we set up roadblocks for sobriety tests? Because we know that drinking impairs judgment. And yet we're saying that they're going to make logical choices. Let's not kid ourselves. We know from the beginning of time, from the beginning of gambling, that it's always caused social problems. That's why it's controversial. And the social problems that are caused usually affect the pocketbooks of families. Now, that person sitting there is making a choice for himself, but I think the city shouldn't make it easy. Now, a lot of people say, oh, well, they're going to go down the road, they're going to take this revenue earning to nearby cities. I say let them. Let's make it difficult for them to do that. And maybe by doing so, there'll be fewer making those bad choices. I keep hearing that the statements that have been made previously were anecdotal. I don't think that's true. I don't think Mr. Wetzig presented as a psychologist evidence based on anecdotal evidence. I believe he used studies. I think the board has received information from organizations that include studies and research that's been done on gambling. And might I add, when that research is done, it isn't used just by the people trying to help addicted gamblers. It's used by the gambling industry itself, because they want to know, they need to know how they can hook these people in to bring in the revenue. I just hope that we wisely consider the social and cultural changes that are being presented with our community, not only through this issues, but things that are moving across our country. And wisely consider what kind, do we want to remain a wholesome community? That's nothing to be ashamed of. It's nothing to be embarrassed of. And I really encourage you to vote no on the video gambling. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of video gambling? Chris? I wasn't going to say anything about the time, but we should try to keep it to 5 minutes. And I couldn't stop Mike because he was sweet-talking me.
My name is Chris Clark. I live at 212 Ridge. And I should have communicated a little better with Mike. We've heard a lot about this family circle thing over and over and over. And everyone seems to be wondering what their criteria was and whether we would have been worthy of the award if we had video gaming, and whether we would even be considered next year or the year after if it was approved. This is straight from the editors of Family Circle, and this should clear everything up. I'm going to read this. With the help of onboard information, a New York research firm that provides real estate, demographic, and other data, Family Circle initially assembled a list of 3,335 cities and towns with a population between 10,000 and 150,000 people. From that, nearly 1,000 localities having a high concentration of households with median incomes between 55,000 and 100,000 were selected. So you had to, have some bucks. We then assessed which places best met our family-friendly criteria, including, here they are, affordable homes, quality schools, access to health care, green space, we're working on that, low crime rate, and financial stability, and ranked them from top to bottom. So that's the family circle answer. Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak against video gambling? Gentleman in the purple, orange, rust. If my wife was here, she'd tell me what color it was.
I tell you other things too, right? My name's Bill Schmitko. I'm at 1250 Autumn Ridge Court here in Morton. I really wasn't even aware of this. I've been gone for 2 weeks, but let me just make a couple comments. A community's reputation is slowly earned and quickly burned. And I think the gentleman pointed out from Family Circle that it was community reputation and low crime rate which was instrumental in part of that decision-making process. I guess a couple questions came to mind as I sat here. If a moral compass indicates I can't vote, on what basis do I vote? Because I think without a moral compass, I don't think a community, a family, a country has any kind of compass whatsoever. So I think that's a good question. Could we walk the streets of Morton or any other place without fear, concern, if we didn't have a moral compass in our community? I wonder why Proctor thought that the boat created a business opportunity if gambling doesn't create addicts that need to be treated. It just seemed to strike me as a question that you might want to take consideration of. And we know that gambling obviously takes money out of the pockets of people who are doing it, and you wonder how rational that decision is versus alternative, better uses for the family and the community that could go to. Thank you very much.
Anyone else who would like to speak in favor? Maria, is that you back there?
Hi, Marie Arundel from Schooners in Morton, 630 West Jackson. I honestly was not going to speak this evening, just a few words. You had said let them take the revenue elsewhere. You evidently don't have a business here in town. You don't know what it's done to our business. And not just the machines to make the money. We need the customers. And we've lost customers. I hear people at the bar saying, let's go East Peoria, Pekin, anywhere else, because they can have a drink, have a sandwich, have a snack, and play the machines. We have lost over 50% of our customers because of this. We need the revenue to stay open. Let's let all the bars and restaurants in town close and then see what's left. Because nobody's going to buy one of them buildings when they know they can't have the machines because they cannot make it. I've been there for 28 years, and we have had no trouble, no crime because of the gambling machines. We've had them in our establishment for 28 years. Never, ever had to have a call on those machines. Never had any trouble in town because of the machines. And now that they're legal, I don't know how there could be trouble when there wasn't when they were illegal. I just don't understand what all the commotion is. We're not asking for anything but a yes, so these businesses, us businesses, can stay open. And I would appreciate it. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak against the ordinance? I see a hand in the back.
I'm Todd Souter, live at 148 Tamarack here in Morton. A couple of thoughts. One, as a father of 6 kids, ranging from preschool to junior high, the future of our town is a particular interest to me. And as a governing body, as someone else has said, you were elected to represent us. We voted for you because we believe that you reflected the principles that we have as well. Do I believe that Morton is going to be corrupted and evil if the video gambling ordinance is passed? No. Do I believe that we're moving in a direction that's not wise and places us in a path that we're not interested in? Yes, I do. Just as we have ordinances that say that how tall my grass can be, or whether I can put a fence in my front yard, or whether I can burn leaves, we've got these ordinances in place that keep and make Morton special and give it a look and a feel that makes us different from the surrounding communities. We've all been given a choice, and my choice is out in Morton to continue to stand for the principles that has made our community great. As the businesses that are affected, I understand their frustration. I'm a business owner too. I'm a CPA, financial advisor, and as many of you know, as you drive up and down town in Morton, there's a lot of financial planning firms here in Morton. And we really have two choices. We either adapt or we become extinct. And I guess I look at it as video gamings and say, if we got to find something that's going to differentiate our business, what's going to make us stand out. And if this were approved, I say, what's the next moral issue? What's the next vice that's legal and available in Peoria that the same arguments are going to be placed for, and say, why can't we have that in Morton? We can go just across the river and bring it to our town as well. I think we need to take a stand, and as moral beings, we make decisions that reflect our morals. We're held accountable for our actions and the non-actions we take. So thank you for your time, and ask you to oppose the video gambling ordinance here in Morton. Thanks.
Anyone else to speak in favor of the ordinance? Gentleman in the front.
I'm Jerry Davis, and I've been doing business at the VFW. I'm the commander of the VFW here in Morton for 15 years. And as a veteran, I'm a firm believer in the rights and privileges we have as citizens of this country. And I think that those rights and privileges have been earned and paid for. And to tell my customers that they can't have video gambling because it's immoral, well, it's perfectly legal in the state of Illinois. And I've got very limited knowledge. Mr. Bush brought up a little bit of it, but I thought our forefathers were pretty sharp guys. They covered all the bases. And one of the things they brought up was the separation of church and state. And I get a little bit concerned when people start passing regulations based on their morality versus the statutes and regulations of the state. Thank you.
Anyone who is opposed who would like to speak? Gentleman in the sport coat, blue shirt. Suit coat, sorry.
Good evening. I'm Jeff Nyhauser. I live at 17 Jasper Drive here in Morton. And I appreciate you hearing out the heartbeat of the community, and really appreciate what you've done for this community. I didn't come here because of family circle or any other reason, actually. 4 years ago, I moved my family here, and so I came here by choice, and just wanted to touch base on that just for a minute. And when we came to this area, we had the opportunity to look at a variety of communities where we would reside, and we selected Morton. And very thankful to have done so. In fact, now I'm quite proud to say that's where I'm from. My children are here, as well as my grandchildren. And I think you've done a great job of being providers and protectors. You provide great opportunity here, great resources, a great community, and also you have protection for the safety and the quality of our life. It is challenging to be progressive and at the same time be protective. But although I am very thankful to be a resident of Morton, more thankful to be a child of God. And I make no qualms about the fact that I do use the scriptures as a guide for my life, not just one day a week, but for all the decisions that I make. And one of the scriptures I use, and I like to use often, is in Exodus 33:15. It says, Moses said, "If thy presence go not with me, carry us not up hence." In other words, don't let me go somewhere that you won't go with me. I can't separate that from my life. All the decisions that I make, I try to go through the Word of God. And if you don't like the scripture, then maybe you'll appreciate what Abraham Lincoln said when he was asked, a question about his decisions, and he said, "Sir, my concern is not whether God is on our side. My greatest concern is to be on God's side, for God is always right." In the scriptures, it talks often about, especially in the Proverbs, the wise and the foolish. Getting gain foolishly. And I know this isn't all about the money. There's about morality, and a lot of things have already been said, and I greatly appreciate the comments and the concerns. And I have no interest in punishing or hurting any business or anyone. But as was already said, there are decisions we need to make. And to be the protectors of this community, I've greatly appreciated what you have done in the past and what you're doing today. I just hope that as you go forward, that it'll be much easier to say no when you have a bigger yes. And that bigger yes is to provide the opportunity for the people here in Morton to be all that we can be for what God has designed for each one of us. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak in favor of the ordinance? Is there anyone else who would like to speak in opposition to the ordinance? There being none, we'll move on. We have in front of us a consent agenda that includes approval of the minutes of the September 3rd meeting and 2 resolutions, one to vacate the stormwater detention basin and the other dealing with some right-of-way. Would anyone in the audience like to see those pulled from the consent agenda? Would any of the trustees like to see any of those pulled from the consent agenda? There being none, could I get a motion to approve the consent agenda? Tom?
Second.
Randy seconds. Call the roll.
Belsley?
Yes.
Dobb?
Yes.
Hare? Yes. Herman?
Yes.
Kaufman?
Yes.
I have nothing. How about the village clerk?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Village administrator?
Tonight, I am asking for approval to transfer $91,000 from the general fund to the capital projects fund.
Can I get a motion?
So moved.
Second.
I didn't get who moved.
Sam.
Who was that you said? Sam.
Dobb?
Yes.
Hare?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Kaufman?
Yes.
Belsley?
Yes.
Do you have anything else?
I do not.
Chief of Police?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Corporate Counsel?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Director of Fire and Emergency Services?
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Director of Public Works?
Several items tonight, Your Honor. The first one, I'd like to ask for acceptance of the base bid, alternate bid number 1, multi-use trail, and alternate bid number 2, North Morton Avenue Mill and Overlay, for the East Cortland Widening and Intersection Improvements Project in the amount of $2,641,857.14, and award of contract for same to R.A. Cullinan and Son. I would like to note that alternate bid number 2, North Martin Avenue, in the amount of $405,597.64 will not be constructed until FY15, at which time we will budget for that amount.
So moved.
Jeff?
Second.
Who's second? Sam? Sam second.
Hare?
Yes.
Herman?
Yes.
Kaufman?
Yes.
Belsley?
Yes.
Dobb?
Yes.
Next.
Second one would be, I'd like to announce the fall yard waste disposal program, which will start October 21st and will run through November 10th with a brief shutdown. And they'll open up again November 13th and run through December 1st. This will operate from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. daily. I would like to note, I get several complaints throughout the year on the date, if it's not, when the leaves fall or if we don't wait long enough. There's a lot more planning involved with this, so we're doing our best to hit those targets. If we can change when we get up to it, we'll do our best. But right now, those are the dates, and want to give everybody enough notice, so that's ready.
Next.
Next would be our fall fire hydrant flushing program, which will start Sunday, September 29th in the evening, and that will run for 3 weeks, from Monday through Friday, from 7:30 a.m. to 4 p.m., and another shift from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. This will last about 3 weeks, and during that time, you'll probably notice a brief drop in pressure, maybe some discolorization, but hopefully you don't see too much of that. But that'll take about 3 weeks to get that done.
Next item?
Next item, I would like to announce, there is a household hazardous waste collection program event in Normal, Illinois on Saturday, October 5th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. This was brought to my attention from Grimm Brothers or PDC. So just want to make you aware of that event. With that being said, with our 7-year contract with Grimm Brothers, we will have 2 of these events in Morton throughout the term, and we'll be letting you know about those as they get closer. But right now, there is this event, which is a nice thing to get to be able to get rid of your hazardous waste.
Do you know where that's going to be located?
It's going to be located in Normal, Illinois, on Mitsubishi. Let me make sure I get this right. It's at Mitsubishi Motors, and it's in conjunction with the Illinois EPA.
Okay. Next item.
And then the last item in your packets tonight is the Public Works recap for the month of August. That's all I have tonight, Your Honor.
Thank you. Planning and zoning.
Copy tonight, Your Honor.
Trustee Belsley.
On the way to the board meeting tonight, coming down Jefferson Street and then turning south on Main Street, it's hard to imagine that 48 hours ago that the Pumpkin Festival was in full swing, but the sites, there's a few remaining remnants left, but again, it's just a tremendous effort that went on by the community and the citizens, and it's just a lot to be proud of, and thankful for of the past week that we've had as a community, and just wanted to again extend a big thank you to our employees, to the over 2,000 volunteers, and also to the Morton Chamber that helped orchestrate this whole event. So it's certainly a tremendous effort and something that does show that Morton is a special community.
Trustee Dobb.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Trustee Hare.
Nothing tonight, Your Honor.
Trustee Herman.
Your Honor, point of information, I just would like to, something's been brought to my attention in regard to the municipal electric aggregation, and I thought it might be a good idea to mention it publicly. The vast majority of our citizens are participating in an aggregation program, which gives them an excellent rate on their electricity. And we worked with our consultant, Good Energy, and currently are contracting with Homefield Energy in that regard. However, that has not stopped some very aggressive marketing calls from other alternative suppliers. And Trustee Newhouse received such a call, and he thought it might be a good idea to mention his experience with the caller. The salesperson was extremely aggressive and very, very deceptive in insisting that he was associated with Ameren, which Mr. Newhouse called Ameren after the phone call and verified that Ameren is not making those calls. So we just want our citizens to be aware that if they give out their Ameren billing information to these other people, they could become switched over without really necessarily intending to be. So please be very careful and contact our village office if you have any questions in regard to your electric bill. And along those lines, we've been notified that next Wednesday, September 25th, we will be with our consultant opening the newest batch of bids for our first group that will expire next May. So by the next meeting, I should have maybe some more information on what the rates will be at that time for the next round. So just please be very careful in that regard. And that's all I have tonight. Thank you.
Trustee Kaufman.
Nothing tonight.
That concludes our regular business. We need to go into closed session tonight to talk about some real estate issues. I would like a motion to do so.
So moved, Your Honor.
Second. Second by Belsley. Do roll call.
Herman?
Yes.
Hoffman?
Yes.
Belsley?
Yes.
Dobb? Yes. Hare?
Yes.
We do not anticipate any action after this, so you can leave if you wish. I would ask Mr. Spangler and Mr. Loudermilk to join us.